All right, welcome back, everyone. Thanks to you, the diehards, who made it to the closing session. Yes. And thanks to everyone, all of our speakers, all of our sponsors, my comrade Jose Castillo, who's been a little bit of everything these last couple of days. Thanks so much, Jose, for all the help. And our great Information Today staff for making this all possible. Again, this is the closing session, so I'm not going to waste too much of your time, but to remind you that if you are here now and you don't leave, you are eligible for to win a Blackmagic web presenter with Teranex Mini Smart Panel that allows you to take any HDI or SDMI source and have Skype and other applications see it as a 720p camera. So it's pretty cool stuff. So we will announce that after our speaker and after the Q&A. And so with that, let's talk a little bit about our speaker. We're going to talk about how YouTube reaches the mobile generation. And speaking will be Tom Broxton, who is the UX design manager at Google. He currently leads the design teams for Google Video Ads, Advertiser Experiences, which involves buying controls for video ads across platforms. And he has previously led the consumer-facing ad format team and the viewer experience for the mobile and TV teams, as well as being the designer of YouTube's original video analytics platform. So, without further ado, Tom Broxton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are we there? Okay, yeah, you can hear me. Great. Yes, so that was most of my introduction. I'm Tom, and I've worked on YouTube video ads on and off for the last 10 years. And today, what I hope to share with you in this presentation is a bit about our latest research. We constantly do research on how our ad format, how YouTube is being experienced, and then some of how we're using that research to inform our future product direction. So hopefully there's some interesting and useful things for you in there. And the clicker works. So to start with the basics, just to put you in the mindset of how we think about the ecosystem that we have on YouTube. We have viewers, people watching videos, and we have people creating videos for those people to watch. And YouTube is therefore a platform that allows those creators to express themselves, and then if they're successful, hopefully they can monetize those videos. And help let them make more of those videos. And so funding that, obviously, the advertisers, and they have a message about a product or a service that they're trying to get out, and so they're happy to pay, and then that money gets shared between YouTube and the video creator, creating hopefully a virtuous circle that allows us to keep creating more videos and publishing more videos for people to watch. So that's the theory. And I will start by talking a bit about the viewer side of that, how YouTube looks at this. And to start looking at that research, just start with the basics. Obviously, there's a lot of people coming to YouTube. Currently, we're looking at about 1.9 billion logged in users per month globally. So that's a lot of videos and a lot of people watching. And so high usage, everything is at a large scale. And a second important point that we've been paying a lot of attention to over the last years is increasingly this is more and more a mobile experience. More and more people are watching and interacting with YouTube through mobile devices. And I think it'll be no surprise to any of you that if I say a lot of usage is coming from mobile, then the next big piece of that is a large percentage of those people are young people. And if I talk about Generation Z, lots of different definitions of how you define the generations, but I'm talking sort of more or less about people who were born mid-90s, a bit before the millennium, until today. So an important first thing to think about when we talk about that is like, why is this an important generation to be thinking about and looking at? And a good way to start thinking about that is just from the perspective of scale again. So if you're like me, part of Generation X, counting that something born late 60s till maybe the early 80s, then we're looking at about 1.4 billion people. Then if you look at millennials born between maybe the 80s and the millennium, you're looking at 1.7 billion people. And then when you look at Generation Z, you get a bit of a step change there, and we're talking about a much bigger population of around 2.5 billion people. So they're obviously going to be an important market, and they're obviously an important market right now because they're beginning to come of age, right? Beginning to start to have an impact on the market. So they're important. They're going to be important to us. So we want to learn about them and understand them. And like any young people, we find that they're interested in brands. And by any measures that we're seeing, YouTube is an important brand to young people today. They're spending a lot of time watching videos on YouTube and engaging with YouTube, and it has a perceived coolness factor. So we're an important part of their lives, and we want to understand how we can be valuable to them and what we can do to serve them well. So we spend, as I say, we spend a lot of time trying to research and understand our audience and our market. And part of that, we've been trying to understand this particular market, young people, and how that market will develop over time. So a lot of the data that I'm going to show you today is based on both qualitative and quantitative research that we've been doing. We've interviewed teenagers and their parents, and we've surveyed people globally. And the results that I'm going to talk about today are based on a quantitative survey, but just in the US, based on about 1,000 respondents in the 13 to 17 age category, about 1,000 respondents in the 18 to 28 category, 23 category, and then 600 millennials. So the first thing we rediscover, the first thing we find again is that smartphone penetration is very high amongst this group of people. I'm sure that's not a surprise to anyone, but they're using a lot of mobile phones, and it's a very important part of their digital online experience. It's important to put that into some kind of context. So they're not exclusively using mobile phones. They're using many devices. But what we see is that the mobile phone is a particularly important device because first, they're spending so much time with it. And then secondly, it's theirs. It's a personal device. So there's a different kind of connection, as I'm sure you all know you have with your phone, than the one that you have with your TV, that you might watch in more of a co-watching environment, or your laptop. So the next thing we really wanted to look at was how they're interacting with these devices and what they're doing with them. So when we ask teens about how you're spending your time, online video is coming up again and again as a dominant part of that time that they're spending online. And it's interesting, especially when you consider that in the sense of it's people watching video on their phones, which I can remember the time, and I was involved in the development of the video experience for YouTube, and there was a time when people said people will never watch video on their phones. And now it's a dominant way that people are spending their time online and through their mobile devices. So another piece that's important for us to think about and understand, as I say, I work on the ads team. So I'm also beginning to think about what are these people's purchasing habits and what trends will that throw as this generation comes of age? What's that going to do? And I think here the lessons that we're hearing are similar to what we've heard in other generations. But again, it's worth looking at data. So first off, the young people really are a mobile first, even for shopping. They're telling us that they're using their smartphones to make online purchases. And again, I can remember a time when everybody was saying, oh, the smartphone's just going to be a consideration device. We're going to be using it just to understand what we might want to buy, but people won't actually buy online. And we're increasingly seeing that especially young people who are very digitally native are very happy to purchase online if the experience is there and it's possible for them. And obviously, as they mature and gain spending power, this is going to become more and more important. So we wanted to dig into why that is. And we're here, again, to maybe not hugely surprising, but it's interesting to see how they emerge with this technology and with this generation. But I think convenience and speed are important factors for them. So, I have my phone, it's a personal device to me, I have it with me all the time, and it's faster than going to the store. And then the second interesting part is this compare and comparison and finding deals. They talk a lot about being able to understand, be able to find exactly the right product for me and understand what that is, before purchasing. So they're using it as a consideration device, but also this comparison, and then the final checkout and purchase. And it's important to note that even without a huge amount of spending power, they are already buying online as a checkout channel. So we wanted to think about what is it that makes what is it that's going to help a young person make a decision between this product or that product? What is it that makes an influential online ad for this audience? The key things that we see driving these are first, social influencers. Are my friends talking about it? Is there a buzz around it? Secondly, interestingly reported, seeing advertising about such ads and hearing buzz around a product from an advertising point of view also is a driver for consideration. And then thirdly, and really importantly, this comes up later, the idea that is it personal to me, does it speak to me directly rather than just seeing me as a part of a larger audience, continues to be really important with this generation. So, as I said, these are the kind of insights that we're working with, and I wanted to give you a glimpse into how that's driving our thinking about product direction for video advertising and our product development. So I'll start by going back in time and telling the story from when we first developed the TrueView format. You're probably all familiar with this, but in case anybody isn't, the TrueView format is our original skippable ad format. The idea being you've got 5 seconds of a non-skippable view, and then after that the ad becomes skippable as a pre-roll, and then the advertiser only pays if the viewer completes to 30 seconds or the end of the ad, whichever comes first. So the reason TrueView was a valuable format to us and to advertisers was it was the first time it allowed us to really begin to understand what was working on the platform. We were getting feedback directly from viewers on, is this ad working? Is that ad working? Is it a context thing? When is it that people are skipping ads? What are the it gave us a behavior signal to understand viewing habits and their relationship to ads. So a lot of insights came out of this over the years, and we've been using those along with our research insights to think about new formats and the direction we can take those. So the first one I'm going to talk about is TrueView for Action, which takes the engagement half of that story. So for those people who were engaged and who chose not to skip the ad and wanted to watch it, as we combine that with this insight about younger people wanting to do more and more of their purchase actions online and in the browser and on their mobile phone, we wanted to think about how could we actually make that happen? How could we bring a checkout environment to a video format? So we developed a suite of products called TrueView for Action that allow advertisers to place calls to action within the video ad that allow different engagements. So either finding out more information or filling in a lead form or even checking out within the ad itself. And we're finding surfaces to show products and other kinds of things within the ad. And our initial experiments with these formats launched recently are that this is indeed working, the insight's right, that people are keen to engage within the mobile device and on other devices, and they want to check out and they want to find out more like within the context of the ad itself. So, for example, the kayak ad lowered kayaks costs by 80% using target CPA bidding for a checkout action, and PlayStation drove a brand lift with by 40%, with a 40% consideration uplift for their Horizon Zero Dawn launch. So all of our bets in this space seem to be paying off. People really will engage, like more than perhaps people expected at first with an ad in the video space. So that's exciting. So then the second part of the insight was at the other end, was that in these TrueView ads, you had this 5-second non-skippable part of the ad. And we began to see that for the brand advertisers, it was really this 5 seconds that was the valuable piece and that they were interested in. And so what we began to ask ourselves was, could we knock off the interactive part of the ad, and could they just tell their story completely within that 5 or 6 seconds? So we'd already seen the incredibly creative things being done with that 5 seconds. We wondered if people could tell the whole story within that time. So we started by running a competition where we challenged filmmakers and agencies to tell classic stories within 5 seconds, or 6 seconds for the bumper ad. And this was an amusing one by Rethink, a Canadian agency, telling the story of, or some of the story of Hamlet. Which I think like captures something, and is also like a fascinating insight into the what might Hamlet be like in the modern digital age. But it's no surprise that the end of the story is everyone dies. And then we wanted to find out if people could tell more sophisticated stories within those 6-second creative constraints. And I think particularly here, this one was a resonant story for me, and it's amazing to me the kind of power of the story you can tell in such a short format. Right? I was the same. I was just like, oh my God. Talking to the creators of these slots, this was Maud Dietrich from the Mother agency in New York. And they said the biggest surprise was honestly the fact that 6 seconds really is enough time to get a big message across. When I was writing, it was hard to keep the narrative small enough when I was thinking in words, but once I dived into time and images, it felt like there really was enough time to say something big. And just generally, I love the way that creative people can take any set of constraints and use them as a part of making the story so powerful. So we began to get a lot of hope and excitement around the concept of the 6-second bumper ad, which we were also seeing was very appreciated from the viewer side as well. They like this short, kind of punchy format in the kind of content that YouTube has. And speaking of the kind of content that YouTube has, I think it's important to remember it can be kind of chaotic and loud and rioty. And so as we move to real bumper ads that were shown by companies, it's important to see that you can tell a powerful brand story, I think, that will do well in that kind of environment too. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It can just be simple, and like, you know what you saw. If you can remember, did I see that? You know what you saw. And so continue on the theme of real ads in the format. I had this one.
Don't thank me. Thank the savings.
You can't skip this Geico ad because it's already over. Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
And yes, this is cheap. And I do love this way, like anytime you create constraints, like creative people will not only find a way to use them cleverly, but find ways to subvert them and break out of them. And I am going to have to skip this ad because it freaks me out. Yeah, it's like people can use it and then they can like invert it, and it's amazing what people can do as you bring these new formats and these new ways of telling stories. So I get really excited about that. So next, we're also creating tools that allow people to deal with the kind of scale of digital advertising and platforms like YouTube. So Direct-to-Mix is a product that we've developed that allows you to speak more directly to an individual audience. So I talked about how important personalization was, and this is our thinking about that.
You'd pay more attention to this ad if I wrote it for you. But who are you? Is this you? How can I write an ad for all of the yous out there? Enter YouTube Director Mix. With Director Mix, you can create one generic version of your ad and set elements to be swappable. Things like text, images, sound, video, and even image mapping, giving you the ability to completely customize your creative to reach specific audiences. So say you're advertising this, and you want to gear it towards someone who is about to get married, or reach a new parent, or swap things out for people who are into this, or maybe that. Even after launch, you can create new versions of your ad. Say the product's packaging changes. It's time for a price promotion. Or you want to localize a version for Brazil, Germany, or any other market. You can go back into the project and easily update it, giving you the ability to assemble the perfect spot for any viewer. So one ad for this could look like this. Personalized video doesn't have to be daunting. YouTube Director Mix, just right for you.
So I think that's kind of amazing. I've been watching them develop it, and I still can't believe that it works. And it's, again, there's the theory, and I've been fascinated to watch the agencies and advertisers do the creative things with it. So this was Campbell Soup.
Excited for the new season of Orange is the New Black? You'll be served this. If you're listening to Single Ladies, you'll see this. Trying to make sense of world politics? Can't let go of Let It Go? Looking for fail videos? Searching for carpool karaoke? Catching up on UFC highlights? Need cooking advice? New Star Wars trailer? We even created daily pre-rolls related to the world's trending topics, like Brexit, the Icelandic soccer team, and Pokemon Go.
And we're excited by this. Campbell's made a huge variety of these ads. And the exciting thing was that they began to bear out the initial promise of the short format and the personalized targeted content, in that we saw real ad recall lift and sales lift over the course of that campaign. So another example from Rice Krispies.
Leading up to back to school, Kellogg's turned to Director Mix, a new video builder from Google, to introduce the concept of the right-on wrapper. Director Mix enabled the creation of more than 110 custom 6-second ads, each designed as a specific response to a particular video on YouTube.
And again, we saw increase in the recall metrics. But excitingly, with this campaign, we were also able to compare it to the generic ads, and found that the personalized ads drive in this case, 2x brand lift over the generic, and also drove a lift in sales. So final example of this, Myers sale.
To drive awareness, we first served a 15-second pre-roll. Next, we presented every sale product, each with its own 6-second bumper.
Myers 6-second sale is on. Click for this incredible price. It's gone in 3, 2, 1.
With literally hundreds of sale items, traditional production techniques would have been incredibly impractical in a 5-week time frame. Using Vogon, we're actually able to automate the process.
Based on the user's profile, they were retargeted with a sequence of 6-second ads. And once they'd seen the offer, they'd never see it again. In partnership with Google, we'd created the first ever clickable bumper and proven that 6 seconds was plenty of time to drive results.
And so the exciting thing about this campaign was it combined elements of all of the aspects that I've talked about. So it had active, action-based, interactive bumper using the 6-second bumper format, and then it also used the individualized, personalized targeting. And again, we saw all of those come together to good effect. So lastly, we are also aware that with these new complex, powerful tools to building ad campaigns that are dynamic and much more powerful, complicated, we have to provide more powerful analytics tools. So we're in the middle of reworking those and providing more insights into the creative and trying to help advertisers and agencies understand out of all of these new and clever forms of storytelling that they're making, what's working and what isn't. So first off, we've launched analytics that allow you to see the drop-off rate on a video, and then we're also layering into that the ability to show particular moments in the video where specific things happen, like a call to action or a brand event, like a logo or a particularly important piece of the video coming in, so that you can really see if the audience that you want is there at the time that you want them to see it. And we allow you to segment the audience by different factors so that you can understand if the right person is there at the right time to see the right brand response. So, in summary, I would say video and YouTube are really important for young people, and they're using it more and more on mobile. Secondly, that point about the things that are really driving effectiveness in ads and retention are buzz, social interaction around a video, convenience, having it on your phone, having it available there when you see the ad, and personalization. Is it speaking to me? It's obvious. Is it speaking to me and not to people in general? Innovative ad formats have been enabling brands who pick them up and use them creatively to stand out from the crowd. And these smart tools and using analytics and other ways to understand what's working and learn lessons from that and plow them back into your creative process is really empowering personalization of video ads at scale. And that's everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tom. Do we have any questions? All the questions have been asked. All right. Well, yeah, there we go. Oh. You almost made it.
In that content director app that you can use for creatives, can you do that by region if you wanted to do different languages for the same product?
Yes, absolutely. And it's also a dynamic element in the ad. So you can have the language swapped out dynamically in the creative, and then you can target the separate parts of the creative to different markets or to different language, for sure. One down here.
Here we go. I got you. Right here, Robert.
So do you render those... Oh, sorry. I better stand up. Do you render those ads out, or are they dynamically composited since you're in control of that whole player environment?
I should have brought the director mix team, shouldn't I? But yes, they are dynamically composited. That's the idea of this product is everything stays individually editable, and it's composited. I don't know if it's like in actual real time, but yes, it's like they stay dynamic until you need them in order to render at ad serving time.
All right, we've got another one right over here, Tom.
Oh.
Go ahead,
Hello.
Mark.
One here.
Oh, okay, next.
Should I go?
You got the microphone.
Okay.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't see you.
We got 2 mics. We're all over the place.
What does YouTube's analytics tell you about the effectiveness of 6-second ads compared to 30-second ads in the most popular key performance metrics?
It's difficult to give you a direct, straight answer to that question because we find creative variation has such a big impact on that. I don't know any metrics that will tell you, oh, a 6-second ad is always more effective than a 30-second ad or vice versa. The most effective, it's like one of those answers, but the most effective campaigns have definitely been when advertisers have thought about what's the right circumstance for the product that they are selling, and then applying that to the creative strategy that they're using. The figures that I've seen are generally that shorter ad on YouTube will be more effective than a longer ad, and that was a big piece of what we learned from the original TrueView experiments was 15-second ads were working a lot better than 30-second ads, and we encouraged everybody to move from 30 seconds to 15 seconds. Whether that would hold true for 15 seconds or 6 seconds, I think it depends more on the nature of the thing that you're trying to achieve.
Outside of the U.S., where do you see the greatest trajectory of growth?
I don't know the answer to that question. I know that big markets for us are big markets for everybody. So US and then large markets in Europe like the UK and Germany and France. I know there's a lot of growth in other markets in Asia, but I'm a designer and I'm not the person to give you the right answer to that question. Sorry.
We've got another one over here.
Hey, yeah, thanks for this. Are these concepts available using like the DoubleClick API if you're doing your own streaming?
Are these concepts available through the DoubleClick? What do you mean through the API? Sorry.
Right. If I'm inserting my own ads using my own player, can I reuse some of these concepts, or is it specific to YouTube?
Again, I don't know the straight answer to that. The concept is that you should be able to do that. I'm not certain about the ad serving through DoubleClick. I'm sorry. So I couldn't tell you the definitive answer.
One more question right here up front.
Hi, my name is Peter Crosby. I'm with a company called .sub. Is YouTube using user choice for language, captions, languaging as a data stream for personalization?
It would be one of those questions, again, I'd be cautious about giving you an answer there without knowing categorically. The answer would be we use many signals to make that decision, but we try to be intelligent about it, and we use many signals of those types to make those decisions. But whether we use those specific signals, I couldn't tell you.
And we have another one in the back, and then I think that wraps it up.
Do you ever have issues with the direct-to-mix product with meeting compliance for advertising standards in various regions? Because I would have thought it's quite.
I see where the question comes from.
Something going wrong.
Yeah, I see. But since you're able to use the targeting to very specifically decide where a given ad's going to run, I don't think it's like people are just creating campaigns and then dynamically assigning them across the globe. So I think most of those campaigns, like you saw the examples there, they're for particular markets. And so people are still working within, it's an early product and people are still working within quite hard constraints. So like the American back-to-school market or something like that. So I think those kind of issues haven't come up yet. I can see where you're going. I can imagine the same thing too, just like, oh, I'll just chuck a whole bunch of assets in and like let them run globally. But you have control over everything you do as an advertiser on YouTube, so nothing like that's come up yet.
All right, thanks again, Tom. Another hand for Tom Broxton, please. And last but not least, today's winner, the winner of the Blackmagic Design Web Presenter, and what's the name of that other gadget?
It's the Smart Panel.
The Smart Panel that goes in the front of it, package worth $580, is Kari Jones from Stanford University. Kari, are you here? There he is. All right. Once again, thank you everyone for making this such a great show, and we'll see you hopefully in New York, and hopefully even more so back again here next year. Thanks so much.